Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Bat Around. I'm your host, Paul Valley. Ryan Blake is away on his bachelor party. Got to enjoy that. Rain delayed, but otherwise solid Orioles victory. First game in the series with a 3-0 victory. Cole Irvin notching his third straight, going 6 and 1/3 innings pitched, allowing just 2 hits, no walks, striking out 4. Again, the no earned runs. He's now up to 20 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. Pulled at 72 pitches. We'll get into that in a little bit here. But the Orioles walk away with a 3-0 victory over the Cincinnati Reds last night at Great American Ballpark. Luke Jackson, PressBox's senior editor, will be joining us here in just a matter of moments. He had to restart his computer, but he will be filling in for Ryan Blake while Ryan is at his bachelor party out in Cincinnati. Before we start things off today, I want to remind you today's show is brought to you by Atman's Deli. Are you craving that classic New York deli experience? Then look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different, a bar. Atman's Harbor Point. Go to atmansdeli.com for daily specials. As we were just saying, Cole Irvin takes the mound last night, and I don't know what got into this guy. His first 2 starts left a lot to be desired. I believe he gave up 9 runs in those first 2 starts combined in a little over 10 innings pitched. Just didn't look the part, although that second start against Boston, he was a miscalled third strike away. It was a strike. It was strike 3 at the end of the inning. The guy ends up getting on base and then taking a walk, and then the next guy hits a 2-run homer, and the next thing you know, Cole Irvin's given up 5 runs and extended the inning. But then in his next start, he goes only 4 2/3, but he gives up just the 2 runs. And since then, he's been arguably the best pitcher in the American League, allowing 0 runs, covering his last 3 starts. Again, 20 2/3 innings pitched without allowing a run over those 3 starts. And joining us now, we do have PressBox's editor. He is Luke Jackson. Luke, good morning. Thanks for joining us and filling in for Ryan today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Luke, first and foremost, what has gotten into Cole Irvin? 20 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. He has not allowed a run in his last 3 starts. He's arguably the best pitcher in the American League right now, if not all of baseball, just based on what he's done his last 3 outings. Do we have a delay? Luke, can you hear me?
You're cutting in and out.
All right, we're gonna figure this out here. Do we have you there, Luke?
Connection is lost. Hold on.
Connection is lost. All right.
You got me now?
I'm gonna let you.
No?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Are we good? It seems like we might have a delay. I'm gonna go ahead and kick you out of here real quick. I'll send you a private chat. Having some technical difficulties with Luke. So we'll try and get that figured out. But Cole Irvin, absolutely dominant last night. Again, 6 1/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts, through just 72 pitches. And there were a lot of us kind of scratching our heads about that. Because the bullpen has thrown a lot of innings so far this year. Now they're at 15 1/3 innings with just allowing the 1 run on 5 hits since the beginning of the Yankees series. However, John Means is pitching for the Orioles today. He's thrown, 23 2/3 innings in the last 2 years combined at the major league level. Wasn't that great in his spring training, pitching down at Norfolk. Got batted around a little bit, but then the bat around. But then in his last outing, he went 7 innings, allowed just 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts. Looked every bit the part. But you're kind of nervous with the guy's injury history. You don't want to overextend him, and you want to use that bullpen a little bit. You want to have that bullpen at your disposal should you need it. And you're pulling Cole Irvin in the 7th inning with just 72 pitches, knowing that you have John Means, who might be limited in this game on Saturday. Luke, do we have a better connection with you? Luke's having a little bit of trouble with my audio. I'm gonna knock him out of here, and we're gonna see if he can get things figured out a little bit. But what we're looking at here is maybe you're in a situation. I know that Albert Suarez has gone to the bullpen now that John Means is back, Kyle Bradish is back, Grayson Rodriguez is on the IL. However, I do feel like maybe going to the bullpen at that point, at least let him get through the seventh inning. Then you only need to use 2 pitchers. Now, sure, he gave up that double to Ellie Cruz. He almost walked the next batter. He did strike him out, though. So you're looking at a situation where 72 pitches, he's got an out in the seventh inning. I'm inclined to think you should at least let him get through the seventh inning. I mean, the way that he was dominating that pitch count, you'd like to think that he could have gone a little bit deeper than the 6th and the 3rd innings. But really, it's much ado about nothing. The Orioles got through the rest of the game without giving up another run or another hit for that matter. Ended up winning that ball game 3-0. Ryan O'Hearn 2 for 4. He had 2 RBI on the 2-run homer. Ryan Mountcastle 2 for 5. Again, Orioles bullpen has allowed just 1 run on 5 hits in 15 1/3 innings pitched since Kimbrel's blown save last Sunday. And how about Craig Kimbrel? He had that back tightness. He blew 2 saves in that Oakland Athletics series. And then the next thing you know, he comes in after 4 days rest and he blows away the side, striking out the side, looking at every bit of the Craig Kimbrel from years past in that outing. The one thing that you worry about there is he's 35 years old, which, that's not old by any stretch. He's younger than me, but in the major leagues, that's pretty ancient. And he had the back tightness. He had been used in, I think, 5 out of 8 games at that point when he blew that second save. So you have to wonder, was there overuse? You have to worry about how you're using him. Can he pitch in back-to-back games? Can he give you more than an inning? What's the usage going to be like with Craig Kimbrel moving forward? Because you want to keep him healthy. You need him in the back end of the bullpen if he's going to be pitching like that. But that overuse can lead to more back tightness, and you just have to kind of worry about that. And look, we knew this was going to be an issue when Felix Bautista had that torn UCL last year in August, and knowing that he had Tommy John surgery, he's going to be out for the year. The Orioles went out and they got Craig Kimbrel. However, they did not do anything else for their bullpen. They kind of stood pat. Makes you wonder what they're going to do before heading into the deadline. And I know we're, just about 3 months away from that being a factor, but are they going to make some moves heading into the deadline to revamp this bullpen to make a serious playoff run? Right now, they've got one of the best records in all of baseball, 21-11 at this point. So there's not much to complain about, but the bullpen has been the weakness for this team. Now, speaking of weaknesses, one of my big weaknesses is Royal Farms. I cannot get enough of Royal Farms, and you shouldn't be able to get enough of Royal Farms either, considering all the deals. Rofo chicken is cheaper by the dozen. Right now, get a 12-piece mix for just $20. Plus, if you upgrade your Royal Farms rewards account to include Rofo Pay, you'll save 15 cents per gallon on gas through June 30th. Stop by your neighborhood Royal Farms today for these and other great offers. I think Luke is just having some really serious technical difficulties, which is a shame because while I'm in the middle of the show, I can't stop the show to try and help him figure it out. So hopefully we get a restart going. He just tried to jump in on the show. Let's see if we can get him back in here again. Luke, do we have a better connection?
We might. Hold on. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. I can hear you. You're a little frozen for a second on my end, at least, but at least we can hear you and there's no delay there. Hear me?
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Can you see me?
I can hear myself. You have two screens open?
No, I don't.
Let's see.
Sorry, I apologize. I don't know what the issue is, but
all right. So here's what we'll do. I'm going to mute you while I'm talking, and then I'll let you jump in. I think that's the best way that we're going to be able to handle this right now because I'm not a tech whiz and I'm not there, so I don't really know how to fix the issue. But as long as you can hear me, I can mute you while I'm talking, and then when I'm done, I'll unmute you, and we'll just have to kind of go that way. Luke, I want to talk a little bit about Cole Irvin. I've already been talking about him to start the show. Absolutely dominant his last 3 outings, 20 2/3 innings pitched without allowing a run over his last 3 starts. He goes 6 1/3 innings last night, 2 hits, no walks, no runs, 4 strikeouts. What's gotten into Cole Irvin?
I think you totally lost my video, if I'm not mistaken. Can you? But can you hear me?
Yes, you are frozen, but as far as the video is concerned, but I can hear you.
Okay. Well, what I see from I'll try to log on again soon. But what I see from Cole Irvin is a guy who's dotting, really pitching to the corners, mixing his pitches effectively, throwing a changeup, curveball, slider, 2-seam fastball, and what's been a lot more effective for him, for me, is his ability to throw inside to right-handed hitters, and that's been something that's been a little bit of a struggle for him in the past, where he doesn't crowd right-handed hitters well enough, and they can look out over the plate, and they can hit him hard. And also, he's just jumping ahead of hitters right now. He's doing a really good job jumping ahead in the counts to put himself in a position to succeed. He's pitching with great tempo. I really like what I see, as does everyone else. And for me, this is the guy they probably thought they were getting from Oakland. Now, he does not need huge velocity to succeed, but he needs to locate. He needs to be able to mix pitches effectively, and that's what he's done. He's looked really, really good.
Yeah, I'll say he's looked absolutely fantastic the last 3 starts. He hasn't walked a batter, I believe, in those 3 starts. He may have had the 1 walk in there. I'm sorry. He had 2 walks in that Kansas City start, but he hasn't walked anybody in his last 2 starts. How much of this, Luke, do you think is just his confidence? You know, he went out there against Kansas City and dominated an offense that had been giving the Orioles fits, not just that series, but the entire season. In that season series, he goes out there and dominates them and then starts pitching with a lot of confidence. How much is the head game a factor here with a guy like Cole Irvin? I think maybe Luke is trying to reconnect here again, so I'll boot him out for right now. But I think that the confidence issue, like, I'll give you a prime example. I'll give a prime example. I played golf the other day, and I had 6 pars in the first 8 holes. I chipped in for par on the first hole. I've only played twice this year, and after that chip in, I hit a good drive on that first hole. I felt really confident. Had 6 pars in the first 8 holes, 9 pars on the day. But then I hit a couple of bad shots on the 9th hole. I started to lose my confidence a little bit. I had a 5 or 6 hole stretch where I was absolutely atrocious. And then I hit a great drive on the 15th hole, and I parred the next 3 of the next 4 holes to finish my round. The whole point of that is I regained my confidence and believed that I could do it. It makes you wonder exactly how much the confidence is playing a factor. And you heard Brandon Hyde say in the post-game interview last night that Cole Irvin's just a guy who's pitching with a lot of confidence right now. And you can clearly see it. He just goes out there knowing that he's going to get you out, and you're the one, the hitter is the one who's got the uphill battle, not him. It's really been excellent to see. And just in general, the Orioles, again, they're 21-11. You're looking at what this team is doing right now with, you see them last weekend, they're taking on the Oakland Athletics. A 3-game sweep turned into a 3-game series loss at the hands of the A's because the bullpen couldn't hold it together. You feel like the sky is falling after Craig Kimbrell blows those 2 saves with the Yankees coming to town. And what do the Orioles do? They take 3 of 4 from the Bronx Bombers, holding them to 6 runs in 4 games, including a shutout on Cole Irvin's start in that series. They go on and win that series 3-1. And now this team is just back playing with all this confidence all over again. Luke, do we have a better connection?
Hopefully. Yeah.
Okay. It seems like there might be a little bit of a delay there, but at least there's no echo, and we've got a clear video of you here. So I'll just give you your time to hear me and then respond. But let's get back into Cole Irvin here. Just a guy pitching with a lot of confidence. How much does that confidence and that head game play a factor in what he's been able to do his last 3 starts?
I missed you a little bit. You're Irvin?
Yeah, and how much having confidence over those last 3 starts plays a factor in him being able to be as dominant as he's been.
It's funny when we saw him in Sarasota, he was throwing a lot harder than he's throwing right now. He was up to like 96 in Sarasota, which was a little strange because we had never seen that before. And I don't know if perhaps he was too obsessed with velocity this offseason or in the spring. But these last 3 starts, he's really looked like his Oakland self. Not that I don't know if he ever put together 20 2/3 scoreless innings in Oakland, but this is more Cole Irvin. Not totally obsessed with velocity. I've been able to do it. So that's been great to see. It seems like he sort of has found his identity, where he felt like he had to be better than he was. I think that's possible. I also thought that he was pretty good in the second half too of last year. He was bouncing back and forth between the bullpen and the rotation. But remember, he was a part of the 6-man rotation that kind of saved their season last year because they had Dean Kramer running up on an innings. They had Kyle Bradish running up on an inning. Maybe an innings limit isn't the right thing to say, but an innings threshold. Same thing with Grace. So they had to go a 6-man rotation to get those guys to the finish line. And Cole Irvin was a big help in that regard. So maybe it's a little bit of carryover from the second half. We'll say each of the past 2 seasons, his first few starts have, and last year, remember they optioned to AAA after a rough start to the season. So, and this year they really didn't have that choice because A, he didn't have any options, and B, they didn't have any other starters. So they allowed him to work through it at the major league level, and he's rewarded them for their patience.
He absolutely has. And now you mentioned it. You mentioned the 6-man rotation they had last year, and it kind of makes you wonder what they're going to do, because Kyle Bradish came back and he looked really good. 4 2/3 innings pitched, 84 pitches, 1 earned run, 5 strikeouts, got 11 whiffs on those 84 pitches in his start the other day against the Yankees in that Orioles series clinching victory on, what was it, Thursday afternoon. John Means is set to pitch today. And so you have Albert Suarez, who's moved to the bullpen. Grayson Rodriguez is on the IL. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. When Grayson Rodriguez returns healthy, assuming Bradish and Means stay healthy and stay in the rotation, the way Cole Irvin's pitching, you can't take him out. Dean Kramer's been a dog and an innings eater for you at this point in the season. Do the Orioles go to a 6-man rotation? How do they figure out this rotation? And when we had you on the show last time, you said these are problems that tend to take care of themselves, but this is a real problem that could be rearing its head here in the next 2 weeks. Do we have another delay? Did you miss what I said? All right, we'll see if we can get Luke a better connection here. I'm gonna. Did you hear? Did you have to hear what I said?
You were talking about the possibility of 6-man rotation. Again, I'm sorry. I don't know why the connection's going in and out. I apologize. I don't know. But the 6-man rotation, I would think that if they do go to a 6-man rotation or something like that, it would be a modified 6-man rotation. I think you want Corbin Burns starting every 5th game, no matter what. So I don't think you're going to give him an extra day of rest all that much. Maybe you give it to him a few times there. And so right now you have Grayson L. And now I believe they're operating with the 5-man rotation, if I'm not mistaken, with Irvin, Corbin Burns. So
really having some serious technical difficulties here. I
and really an
apologize for
issue
those
when
listening.
Grayson
This show
comes
has gotten
back.
off to a bumpy start. We're trying our best here.
This time last
with Ryan
week, we were
out
wondering
in
how
Cincinnati,
a 7-man.
it's a little difficult. There's nothing that I can do on my end. We're trying to figure things out with Luke. I sent him a text or a message to see if he can hop on his phone, and maybe that'll work better. We're gonna see how things go here. And if we can't get him in with a clear connection, I'll just ride solo here. For me, I agree with what Luke was saying. If you were unable to decipher that, he was basically saying that you can't put Corbin Burns on that six man rotation schedule. So it had to be modified. Maybe Burns pitches every 5th day because that's what Corbin Burns does. And then some of these other guys, Dean Kramer, I think he could pitch every 5th day too, but I don't really know how that's going to work out. But maybe you have a guy pitch one day and then he pitches 6 days later, and some guys get skipped and then they pitch I don't know how they would figure that out. That's above my pay grade, which isn't very high to begin with. And but I just don't see how you can take Cole Irvin or Dean Kramer, anybody for that matter, out of this rotation. They already removed Albert Suarez. What a tough deal for him, getting taken out of the rotation after 2 brilliant starts and 1 middling start. It's really tough. I'm interested to see how Albert Suarez's stuff plays. How his stuff plays with that move to the bullpen, because there's no doubt that he has big league stuff and it's pretty good. And if he can really unleash it for an inning at a time, or maybe 2 innings at a time, it's going to be really good for this team, I think. And I think that he's going to get that opportunity to pitch today. If John Means, we've seen in the past, John Means tends to get elevated pitch counts early in the season, early in games. And maybe that'll give Albert Suarez a chance to get in there and throw a couple of innings as a swing man to get to the back end of the bullpen. We'll see. Luke, how we doing, man? You got a better feed here. I think we're having the echo thing, but if you can hear me and we can just do the mute unmute thing, I think that's the best way to go here.
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay. Your screen is black. That's okay, as long as we can hear you. Like I said, I'll do the mute unmute. Can you go back into the 6-man rotation factor that you were talking about, where you were saying Corbin Burns has to pitch every 5th day? You can't take Cole Irvin out of this rotation. Really, all the guys that are in there right now, you can't take out of this rotation because they're all just pitching way too well. All right, guys, I'm just going to call it. Unfortunately, we can't just do we can't do another 45 minutes of this show with Luke not being able to have a great connection. I don't want to ruin the show for everybody else. So we'll see how the Orioles handle the rotation. Hopefully they'll handle it a lot better than we're handling this show right now. I want to remind you that if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. And the rotation's impact on that bullpen is, I think it's going to be good for the team. Tyler Wells is probably going to be coming off the IL here in a couple of days, hopefully in a couple of days. Grayson Rodriguez coming back. You're going to have Albert Suarez. You're going to have Tyler Wells in that bullpen. If Craig Kimbrell is back, he has that back thing figured out at the back end. Yennier Cano is pitching really well. Danny Coulombe is pitching well. He might be a borderline all-star. Cianel Perez looks like he's come back pitching the way that he did at the end of 2023. His first outing, a lot of hard contact, but he looked really good on Thursday afternoon. Jacob Webb is pitching really well. Count me against one of those who's shocked, because Jacob Webb did nothing for me at the end of the season last year, but he's pitching really, really well. Got 3 up, 3 down to help earn that victory and close things out on Thursday afternoon. This bullpen could become a strength moving forward, especially when these guys get back into the rotation. And again, they've already become a strength this past week. 1 run on just 5 hits in 15 in the 3rd inning since the start of that Yankees series. And I also think, like, I don't think the Orioles are going to need to make a deal for a starting pitcher. We go into the trade deadline every year saying, oh, what do the Orioles need? The Orioles need a legitimate starting pitcher. Well, it seems like they have 5 or 6 of them. We're talking about a 6-man rotation. Well, the Orioles need a bat. Well, it seems like their entire offense is, they've faced some really good pitching this year, but they lead the majors in home runs. They lead the American League in runs scored. That last time I checked, they probably don't need a bat. What they really need is a back end bullpen arm. I don't think a guy like Mason Miller is realistic, but there's going to be some arms out there. We already saw that the Miami Marlins are in sell mode. They just traded Luis Ariz, who's a back-to-back defending National League, back-to-back batting title winner in the American League 2 years ago, in the National League last year. The Marlins are in sell mode. There could be some arms there that the Orioles could go after. The Orioles, Lord knows they have the prospects to get some high-impact arms for this bullpen to really make the stretch run, but we're a few months away from that. I think the Orioles are hitting their stride. I really think they're hitting their stride with what they're doing right now. As far as you take 3 or 4 from the Yankees, you win that first game in a shutout in a pitcher's duel against the Reds last night. Now, look, these next 2 games are going to be really difficult for the Orioles, facing some tough young pitching there in Cincinnati, but you're only as good as your next day starter. If the Orioles rotation keeps doing what they've been doing and getting the Orioles deeper into ball games to shorten the impact on that bullpen, the offense can score, 4 runs. Generally speaking, they're probably going to win that ball game with how their rotation has been going recently. If they can get 3 runs today and off of a really good starter, and forgive me, his name escapes me at the moment, but if they can get 3 runs off of him today, with Dean Kramer going in, with John Means going. Dean Kramer's going tomorrow. With John Means going, and hopefully Means can give them. I'm not expecting much from Means. I'm expecting maybe 5 innings out of him. But if he can go 5 innings, allowing 1 or 2 runs, I think the Orioles have a good chance to win that ball game. Tomorrow is going to be really tough going up against Lodolo, who has 4 starts and he's allowed 1 hit in 2 of those starts. And he's allowed 1 run or fewer in 3 of those starts. He has been nasty. So the Orioles, if they want to get the series win, I think they need to win this game tonight. We'll see how that goes. They've beaten up on Rodon and Cole Reagans in the last couple of weeks. So we'll see how that goes. But, this Orioles team is, I think, really hitting their stride right now. The offense has been good most of the season. You're going to have those games where the offense stops hitting. It's not like they're not facing good pitching. But they're still finding ways to win games. 21-11 right now. I believe they're tied for the best record in the American League. It's a great start to the season, and I'm really excited about what this team's going to do, especially heading to DC after this. They had the off day on Monday and then the off day on Thursday. I think the Orioles could win both of those games in DC. If you're wondering what company makes your home more energy efficient, purifies your air, and kills all viruses, and qualifies you for $6,000 in rebates, wonder no more, look no further. AJ Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis is doing that and more for you. Check out everything that AJ Michaels offers at ajmichaels.com. I want to talk a little bit about Ryan Mountcastle right now, because Ryan Mountcastle, he was a first-round pick coming out of high school for the Orioles at shortstop in 2015. And all he did in the minor leagues was hit, but he had no position. He had, he was drafted as a shortstop. They knew that wasn't the long-term answer. They weren't going to play him at second base. They tried him at third base. The arm strength wasn't good enough. The glove wasn't good enough. He played a lot of first base in his final season in AAA. And then they tried him in the outfield because when he came up, the Orioles had Chris Davis and they were paying him $23 million a year to do absolutely nothing for him. So they're like, all right, we got to play Mountcastle in the outfield. And he was, if awful isn't enough, he was something else out there. It wasn't a good something else. But they move him back to first base. And now he's become a Gold Glove caliber defender. I mean, he is arguably one of the best defensive first basemen in the league right now. He doesn't miss picks. He makes highlight reel play after highlight reel play. So that double play that he started against the Yankees on Thursday afternoon, where the ball took a hop and came up near his face and he just backhanded it. Absolutely fantastic. Ryan Mountcastle has saved a number of unearned runs this year by just being so great around the bag over at first base. And now the bat is looking the way it did when he was a highly touted hitting prospect coming through the minor league system, winning internationally AAA MVP awards. He's slashing 295, 347, 500 with an 847 OPS right now, 8 doubles, 5 home runs. And now you start to wonder, how does he factor into the Orioles' future? You know, Ryan O'Hearn has been no slouch over there, hitting 307 right now. I believe he's got a 954 OPS right now. Absolutely destroying right-handed pitching. He hits third for the Orioles every game against right-handed pitching. 2-run homer last night. By the way, the Orioles have 6 players with 5 home runs. That's absurd at this point in the season. But he's also going to be 31 in July. Ryan Mountcastle is 27 years old. He's doing great things with the bat, great things with the glove. And now you have to wonder, what's it going to look like for Ryan Mountcastle and his future for the Baltimore Orioles? And I'd love if you all, I know not having a co-host on the show right now is, going to make it really difficult to have this conversation. But if you all want to chime in the chat about Ryan Mountcastle, Kobe Mayo might get the opportunity to play third base, but Jackson Holliday is your second baseman in the future. You're not getting rid of Jordan Westberg. Kobe Mayo's not. Is he going to play first base? Is he going to move to a corner outfield? Is he going to get time at third base? I don't know what they're going to do with Kobe Mayo. I don't know what they're going to do with Ryan Mountcastle. And I would love to know everybody's thoughts on what we think is going to happen with Mountcastle, because at this point, he's as good a defensive first baseman as there is in the game, and that bat is making him a valuable asset in the middle of the Orioles order. He's walking more often than he ever has. He's taking better pitches. His plate discipline is a lot better. His swing decisions are a lot better. You saw that home run that he hit to dead center or right center field off Carlos Rodon on Thursday afternoon. That pitch had no business being hit for a home run. It was down and in. And somehow he got the barrel to the ball and managed to hit it with power the other way for an Oppo Taco home run. Ryan Mountcastle is making his case to be around Baltimore, around the Orioles for a long time to come. I'm interested to know everybody's take on that moving forward here. I'll give you guys time to catch up in the chat if you want to give me your opinions on Ryan Mountcastle. In the meantime, I want to remind you that if you missed anything from Glenn Clark Radio this week, including conversations with Rashad Bateman, Carl Ravitch, and Ravens draft picks TJ Tampa and Sanusi Kane, you can find it all in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature today at PressBoxOnline.com. I believe that's Sanusi Kane, whose name I butchered at first. Moving on to the AL East wrap-up. Trailing 3-1 through 6 innings, the Nationals broke through against the Blue Jays bullpen as Luis Garcia Jr. smashed a pinch-hit 3-run homer as part of a 4-run seventh, and then they added 4 in the 8th for good measure to clip the Jays' wings 9-3. Nationals 9, Blue Jays 3. Randy Arozarena homered and walked 3 times, while Harold Ramirez and Ahmed Rosario collected 3 hits apiece as the Rays outslugged the Mets 10-8. Brett Beatty homered twice for the Mets in the loss. Marcus Stroman allowed 1 run in 5 1/3 innings pitched, and the bullpen took care of the rest while Anthony Rizzo and Giancarlo Stanton each drove in a run to provide all the offense in a Yankees 2-1 victory over the Tigers. And finally, Chris Paddock spun 6 shutout innings, and Edward Julian and Ryan Jeffers drove in 2 apiece to lead the Twins over the Red Sox 5-2 for their 11th straight victory. This is the same Twins team that the Orioles took care of business against just a couple of weeks ago, sweeping them. Have they lost since getting swept by the Orioles? I don't think they have. And yet the Twins, 11-game winning streak, taking down the Red Sox last night, 5-2. What is on tap for the Orioles in today's game? John Means making his season debut with first pitch slated for 6:40. Means 4 starts last season, all in the final month of the season, going 1-2 with a 2.66 ERA before missing the postseason with elbow fatigue, which also stalled his start to the 2024 season. 6 starts on his rehab assignment with Norfolk, 1-2 with an 8.68 ERA. Not good until his final rehab outing last Sunday. He goes 7 innings against Gwinnett, which is a good team. 1 hit, 1 walk, no runs, 8 strikeouts. John Means looked like John Means. Loved it. It's John Means business day here. Again, finally getting him back into this rotation after missing the first month plus of the season. Interested to see how he's going to do. Again, Albert Suarez probably going to be the man in long relief if Means doesn't make it too deep into the game. With Bradish's start, I called him to nobody in particular, just to myself. Called him going about 4 2/3 innings. That's exactly what he did. Ran into some bad luck in that first start, in that first start back against the Yankees in that first inning. He should have had a 9-pitch first inning, and he gets that third out, but catches that interference there, allows the runner allows the hitter to reach base. Then on an 0-2 pitch, clips Anthony Rizzo's elbow. Then he walks the batter. So now bases are loaded, and he suddenly has thrown a 26-pitch first inning before getting out of it unscathed, which probably caused him to not be able to pitch into the to not be able to complete 5 innings because that pitch count was already elevated after 1 inning. I mean, he had to throw an extra 17 pitches after thinking he's out of it 3 up, 3 down with a 9-pitch inning. Orioles get that win 7-2, but John Means now making his first start of the season. How limited is he going to be? If he can keep that pitch count down, he might be able to get a little deeper into the ballgame for the Orioles. But we've all seen John Means in the past not be able to keep his pitch count down, especially early in the season. I remember when he first came up, he was throwing 5 1/3 quality innings, but his pitch count would be at 105 entering the 6th inning, or at some point in the 6th inning, he'd have to be taken out of the game. You wonder if he's going to be able to settle in and pitch really well for the Orioles. I think he will ultimately, but it could be a slow start just because of what he's coming in. And even though his rehab stint was more like his spring training and that last outing was exceptional, the ERA dropped to 8.68 after a 7-inning, 1-hit shutout performance in his final start. So it dropped to 8.68. So I don't think we need to read too much into how much he struggled for Norfolk, but I also don't think it's something we need to ignore. So it'll be really interesting to see how John Means fares today going up against the Cincinnati Reds, who have a young and talented offense. That's for sure. Some comments from you all today. Irvin has been amazing. I'm not one of his biggest fans. It's hard to be a big fan of Cole Irvin when you know what the rotation is supposed to be like. And that's no fault of Cole Irvin. I mean, we thought he was who he was, you know. We thought that he was a soft-tossing lefty who really needs to be accurate and paint if he wants to be effective at the big league level. And he's been painting his last 3 starts, just 2 walks in the last 3 starts, covering 20 2/3 innings. But it's not really his fault that nobody was a big fan of his, because you have Corbin Burns and Kyle Bradish and Grayson Rodriguez and John Means and Dean Kramer. And Dean Kramer's a solid pitcher who's got a 3.74 ERA the previous 2 seasons and 21 victories, and he's your number 5. So Cole Irvin, what we seem to remember is those 3 starts last year, not how good he was, especially in the second half of the season, where he pitched like a 3.20 ERA after being recalled from Norfolk. So it's hard to sit there and say, I'm one of his biggest fans, because the other guys are, when we're thinking about them, they should be better. But right now, there's nobody in baseball better than what Cole Irvin has been his last 3 starts. He's been absolutely fantastic. Randall also proceeds to comment, Irvin is showing all the signs of becoming an excellent closer. There's no chance that Cole Irvin becomes a closer. There's no chance. You want your closer. I mean, yeah, he's a lefty. But there's too much of that hitability in there still. And I know how good he's been. You want your closer to be able to throw 98, 99, 100. I mean, you look at Zach Britton, right? And why was he such an effective closer? He threw that nasty sinker at 98 miles an hour that just completely fell off the table. And even though batter knew it was coming and they knew where it was probably going, they still had to prepare for the fact that what if it's a fastball right down the middle? I better swing, and then it would drop right under their bats. Cole Irvin has a good curveball. He has upped that velocity a little bit. He's got great command, but I just don't think that he's what you're looking for in a closer. I think his role right now is, at this point, stay in the rotation. Otherwise, if he goes to the bullpen, he's that long man, that swing man guy. I don't think that he's that closer guy that you're looking for. Randall also asks, question is, will Means be re-signed? The bullpen can always use another arm. That's the tough question, right? I believe Means is a free agent after this season. The bullpen can use another arm, but I think Tyler Wells coming back his arm. And I think that the Orioles are going to make a move to get another solid back end arm for that bullpen. So I'm not totally convinced that that arm is going to come from within with Tyler Wells. And also keep in mind how well Cade Povich is pitching down in the minor leagues. A lot of guys who are top pitching prospects, they get their start in the bullpen until there's a spot for them in the rotation the following season. If you look at what Cade Povich is doing down there, he's earning a call up, and he's earning one quick. He might be that impact arm for the bullpen where they can kind of limit his innings, let him build up a little bit of innings, especially if a starter doesn't manage to get through 5 or, has to be pulled early in the 6th, and Cade Povich can come in. I think he's going to be a guy who's a factor for the Orioles in the bullpen at some point this year because they don't have a spot for their rotation. They do want to still monitor his innings. Randall goes on to say, Randall, man, just all the comments, right? I think you're my first 8 comments. Then there's trade season. O's need to trade for another solid young arm with time. Miami can cover that need. Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at the fact that Corbin Burns is a free agent at the end of the year, John Means is a free agent at the end of the year, you're probably going to need another arm for this rotation moving forward. Jesus Luzardo is the first name that comes to mind, but he's on the IL right now with some kind of elbow fatigue, which makes people a little bit nervous. But I don't think the Orioles are making an in-season trade for something to help them next year. Like, they're not going to trade for Jesus Luzardo and then put him into the rotation this year. They're not going to do that. They might do it in the offseason. They might go and try to acquire another legitimate starting pitcher in the offseason. But I don't think that's something they're going to do at the deadline. I think if they're making any moves at the deadline, and they probably are, they're a really good team who's going to want to, supplement that talent with somebody that can get them to the finish line. It's going to be for a high-impact reliever, not a starting pitcher. And that's just my opinion. Speaking of which, Ryan Flaherty. Jack Flaherty, off to a tremendous start for the Tigers. He struck out 14 in his most recent outing. I believe that was on Thursday. And that was the Orioles trade acquisition at the deadline last year, and he was not that guy for the Orioles, not after the first start. The first start, really good, and everything after that was garbage, but looking really good for the Tigers, rebuilding his career over there. Sometimes you just need that change of scenery in the low-pressure situation. It's hard to be the big acquisition at the deadline for a young team that's got one of the best records in all of baseball. You go to the Tigers, expectations are maybe that they're going to get over the hump this year, but there's not a lot of pressure there. So I guess it's good to see Jack Flaherty really stepping up there, but man, he was not that guy here. Randall, Norby, Mayo, and Basayo should be learning first. Mayo and Basayo, I think, are, but, Basayo is probably not going to make it to the majors this year. Norby, I don't think the body type profiles at first base, but he's got to learn another position because he's not going to play in the infield for the Orioles. And if you look at it, I mean, I guess the Orioles are going to have a lot of left-handed bats for their outfield. But right now, Cedric Mullins struggling. Boy, is he struggling right now. He had like a 10-game stretch where he was really good, but the rest of the season has left a lot to be desired offensively from Cedric Mullins. But I'm looking at the Orioles outfield moving forward. I think Santander is gone after this year. I don't think they're going to trade him, but I think they're going to get the compensatory pick when he walks. I think you get 2 picks for him, but I could be mistaken. I'm not really sure how that works. We'll have to get Chris Resitar on here at some point because he knows all the inner workings of stuff like that. But I think you're going to see Santander gone at the end of the year. Enrique Bradfield is going to be pushing Mullins for playing time by this time next year. I think just because of the speed and the defense, and I think that he's more willing to, I think he's more likely to beat out an infield hit because Cedric Mullins he's quick. He's not fast, right? Like he's got good speed. He's got good range, but he doesn't have like Enrique Bradfield, Jorge Mateo type speed. He's got like middle of the pack, maybe a little bit above average speed. And I think that Bradfield's going to push him for playing time if his bat doesn't seriously pick it up here this season. Because, like I said, he had that week and a half long stretch where Mullins was really good. But otherwise, that's like, 8, 9, 10 games that he was really good. And other than that, he's been pretty mediocre at best for the Orioles. And watching him flail against left-handers and pop everything up when he's really not going well, it's really tough to see, especially with Santander struggling. And I know we're talking a lot about Santander's struggles if you're on social media recently. Guys, this is what Anthony Santander does every year. The first month of the season, sometimes the first month and a half of the season, he is really, really poor. And then the next thing you know, he hits a home run, and then he hits 6 in a week, and all of a sudden Anthony Santander looks every bit the part again. I'm not too concerned about him. My biggest concern is the inability to adjust by Brandon Hyde with that lineup. Santander shouldn't be hitting 4th or 5th in this lineup. I think you got to move him down. I mean, you can't have all three of your outfielders struggling as mightily as they are. And we're talking about Mullins, Santander, and Colton Cowser. Cowser is like ice cold the last 2.5 weeks. Mullins, ice cold. Santander has been ice cold all season. You can't have those guys hitting 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7. I think that like you've got to get some days off here for Mullins and for Santander. They're facing a lot of lefties. Maybe give Santander the ability to sit against a lefty here for a little bit. Get his head right because they're not swinging it right now, and that's 3 outs in your lineup. And then if you're playing Ramon Arias on a given night or Ryan McKenna, although McKenna's doing well to start, there's an issue there where they're just not hitting. I just, especially Anthony Santander, you can't have him hitting 5th or 6th in this order. I think it's time to put Jordan Westberg in the middle of the order and leave him there. Maybe, he's the only guy really that I think should be moved up at this point. You could have said that about Cowser a couple of weeks ago, but not now. Santander shouldn't be hitting any higher than 6th in this order. He's an automatic out at this point. He's going to pick it up, but right now he's struggling. And I really think that like Kobe, a guy getting back to the original point, a guy like Connor Norby, if he can play the outfield, the Orioles need a legitimate right-handed hitting outfielder. Austin Hayes could be coming back too, but Norby's got to find a position where I think he's on his way out. I think he's getting traded this year because he's earned the right to be here, and he's not. Kobe Mayo, they're going to find a way to get him in the lineup, whether it's DH, third base, first base, corner outfield. They're going to find a way to get that bat in the lineup. He is just too damn good of a hitter. And Samuel Basallo, this is a problem that we're going to have to start talking about next year, probably not this year. He'll learn how to play first base. He'll be able to DH. Ryan O'Hearn probably won't be here next year. Maybe he'll get his opportunities there. But one of those 3, Randall, in Norby, Mayo, and Basallo, one of them's going. One of them's getting traded this year, and it ain't Mayo or Basallo. I'll tell you that much. AJ Mukherjee. Finally a show after a win. I don't think it's a coincidence that we've got a show after a win and Ryan Blake is away on his bachelor party. Maybe I need to find a new permanent co-host. I'm just kidding. I love Ryan. I love everything that he does. Orioles do get that 3-0 victory last night. They've had 3 straight tough Friday night losses going into last night's game. So really, really nice to see the Orioles get a win. So it's a fun show rather than the type of show. AJ also says, really, really, really bad news. Ryan McKenna hit a home run. Hyde will start him off. I saw people get so mad at Ryan McKenna when he lined out to left field with the bases loaded, ignoring the fact that the 2 guys in front of him popped out and struck out to not do anything to help score a run there. Ryan McKenna hit the hell out of that ball. If there had been 1 out, if any of those guys had done something and there had been 1 out, that would have been an RBI on a sacrifice fly for Ryan McKenna. He homers in the next at bat. Look, you will never mistake me for a Ryan McKenna fan, but I can't hate on the guy who's come in and hit when he's been called upon. I mean, he has. Granted, it's only 2 hits in like 5 at bats, but he's done with what's been asked of him. We can talk about that double that went over his head where he was frozen on the ball off the bat, got a negative 12.5-foot jump on that batted ball. But I mean, whatever. Like Ryan McKenna, he's gone. I think as soon as Austin Hayes gets back, for what's going on, for what they're asking him to do right now, Ryan McKenna's been fine. And you know how much it pains me to say that because I'm not a big Ryan McKenna guy. Norfolk had a no-hitter this week. Chase McDermott. Yeah, McDermott was really good, but I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on with my eye. It's like super itchy right now. It's probably just allergies. Chase McDermott, man, he's been really good. Orioles reigning minor league pitcher of the year from last year. He's been really good, but the walks are up. Right, he's been a little bit wild. You'd like to see last night 11 strikeouts to just 2 walks. That's more like it. He's got to prove that he can do that consistently. But look, hats off to Norfolk Tides last night with that shutout no-hit victory. Jackson Holliday doubled to the opposite field, like a deep fly ball off the wall to the opposite field. Late kick looks a little bit shorter. So that was nice to see. Still want to see him get going. I think he's only got, he went 3 for 6 the other night, but I think he's had a couple 0 for 4s, a couple 1 for 4s in there as well. So I want to see him get going a little bit. I don't not know what's going on with my eye right now, so I apologize. Randall Flaherty was the guy the first game, and that's it. You're absolutely right. Jordan Westburg, the silent killer. I am a big Jordan Westburg guy, like a huge Jordan Westburg guy. He all he did in college was produce. All he did at the minor league level was produce. He had a 106 RBI season in 2022 in the minor leagues. That's really hard to do, and he was able to pull that off. All this guy does is produce. He just crushes the baseball with 2 strikes. He can hit the ball to any part of the field. He can go up Otako. He can pull a home run. He can hit a home run to dead center with legitimate power. Jordan Westburg is a middle of the order hitter right now, and I said last year, when he was playing in August, I said, we're going to look up a year from now and see him hitting 277 with 23 home runs and 75 RBIs and say, that dude's a dude. That dude is a dude. Jordan Westburg is absolutely a dude. I love what he's doing. I love the fact that he's making it so the Orioles have to figure out what they're going to do with Kobe Mayo because Jordan Westburg is a part of this lineup, a part of this team for a long time. Brandon Hyde loves him. I think Mike Elias loves him. He's got that versatility. He can play all 3 infield positions. He can play the outfield. He's just an athlete and just a gritty, quiet, do-your-job baseball player. I love Jordan. He might be my favorite player on the team. I love Jordan Westburg. Absolutely love him. And I realized I started taking comments here before getting into what's on tap or who's pitching for the Reds. The Reds are countering today with left-handed pitcher Andrew Abbott. Abbott is 1-3 with a 3.27 ERA this season. In his last start against the Texas Rangers, Abbott allowed 4 earned runs on 6 hits, including 2 home runs in 5 1/3 innings to take the loss. What do we think the lineup's going to look like? Because the lineup normally wouldn't be out by now anyway for a 4 o'clock game, and this game happens to be a 6:40 game. I think they had some kind of like running of the pigs marathon or something like that, either today or tomorrow. But because it's weird start times, a 6:40 start time on a Saturday and a 4:10 start time on a Sunday for first pitch. And so what's the Orioles? The Orioles line definitely is going to come out at any point during this show. So what's it going to look like? Henderson's going to play, and he's going to bat leadoff. Rutschman, who's I think he's hitting 450, has a right-handed batter this year. He's batting second. O'Hearn probably. I wouldn't be surprised to see Mountcastle hit third and Westburg hit fourth. Probably Santander getting the start in right field, batting fifth, even though I don't think he should hit that high in the order. And then you're looking at who's going to bat sixth, probably Jorge Mateo playing second. Do they want to get Arias in? Do they want to get Arias into the lineup? He has reverse splits. He's not great against left-handed pitching, but he hasn't played in a couple of days. Maybe he plays third, but I know Mullins is going to get the day off. So you're probably going to see McKenna in center, Calzer in left, Santander in right. I'd like to see Westburg at third base and Jorge Mateo at second. Mateo's been hitting. He's been hitting the ball. It seems like every time he gets a start recently, he's getting a base. And when he's getting on base, he's able to steal a bag. So, yeah, I think that what we're going to see in this lineup today is likely going to be. Sorry, my nose is like super runny, and I have no tissues in here. Damn. I have no tissues in here. But I think we're going to see Henderson, Rutschman, Mountcastle, Westberg, Santander, maybe James McCann DHing and batting 6, Colton Cowser in left field, Jorge Mateo at second base, and Ryan McKenna in center field to get Mullins a day off against a tough lefty. And they got a tough lefty tomorrow. It could be a very similar lineup. I think that that's what we're going to get. So I'm gonna type this out here. Henderson, just so I can remember it and compare and contrast. Henderson, Rutschman, Westberg. No, I'm sorry, Mountcastle. This is great radio, guys. I'm glad you're all tuning in to watch me type out the Orioles lineup. Westberg batting 4th, Santander, even though I think he should hit lower. I know he won't. McCann, Cowser, Mateo, and McKenna, I think is what we're looking at today. So that's just how I think it's going to go. And then what's on tap after that? The Orioles, after today's game, conclude their series with Cincinnati tomorrow afternoon with a 4:10 start and a matchup between Dean Kramer and left-handed pitcher Nick Lodolo. This is why it's so important for the Orioles to get this victory today. Lodolo has been crazy good. 3-0 in 4 starts, 1.88 ERA, a .88 WHIP. He's allowed 1 earned run or fewer in 3 of 4 starts, and in 2 of those starts, he allowed just 1 hit. He's allowed just 1 home run. So it's going to be difficult for the Orioles going up against back-to-back lefties, and then that difficult lefty, especially in Lodolo tomorrow. Got to get the win today. Then the Orioles will have the off day on Monday before opening a short 2-game series in D.C. against the Nationals or Camden Yards South. I expect to see a lot of Orioles fans down in D.C. I'd go if I had the ability. I can't make it. 2-game series in D.C. against the Nationals, followed by a day off Thursday. And then the Orioles are back home as they welcome the defending nationally champion Diamondbacks, who are really struggling. Going to invite them to Camden Yards for a 3-game series that begins on Friday night next week. So that's what is on tap for the Orioles. What's on tap for you if you head over to Royal Farms or any of 500 area locations to get the new PressBox print issue? It is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Orioles pitcher Grayson Rodriguez, talking to many of the people that have been part of his path to potentially becoming a homegrown ace, plus reflections on the life and legacy of legendary Maryland basketball coach Lefty Driesell, and more. The new print issue is available at your neighborhood Royal Farms and any of the hundreds of locations around town where you can find PressBox. Plus, you can read the entire print edition and past print editions at PressBoxOnline.com. It is now time for Take 2 Rake. And guys, this one's a tough one. It's a tough one. Ryan chimed in to me. Ryan chimed in to me asking me, basically telling me what his pick was. And he doesn't know if it's, I don't think he realizes Ryan Mountcastle hit 3 home runs since last Saturday. He went 8 for 29. A double, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs, no walks, 11 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases. So his slash line was 276, 621 with an 897 OPS. Ryan O'Hearn only got 4 games in since last Saturday. He only got 4 games in, but in those 4 games, he went 5 for 14, a home run, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, just 1 strikeout, slash 357, 438, 571 with a 1009 OPS. I'm gonna wait a minute. I'm gonna let some of these people chime in. It's probably just gonna be Randall and AJ. We can't take Ella De La Cruz for Take 2 Rake because he's not on the Orioles. It has to be an Oriole. But I want to hear what you guys have to say. Did Ryan win with Ryan Mountcastle this past week, or did I win with Ryan O'Hearn? Mountcastle had the 3 home runs and 5 RBIs, but he had 0 walks. And he struck out 11 times. Slash 276, 621 for an 897 OPS. Ryan O'Hearn, that's who I took. He had a home run, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, just 1 strikeout in 4 games with a 357 batting average, a 438 on base percentage, a 571 slugging percentage, and a 1009 OPS. I don't want to make the call. I'm going to let, it looks like just Randall and AJ make the call on who won take to rake. In the meantime, I want to know how you guys are all feeling right now. How are we feeling about the Orioles, about their start to the season, 21-11? I know that there's been a lot of negativity. I don't mean to be negative. It just kind of happens when you know how good this team is and you see some of the ways that they lose. And I said on the show last week, it's not that they lose, it's how they lose. They should have swept the A's. They blew 9th inning saves in 2 of those 3 games. They should have won 2 or 3 from Pittsburgh. They blew a save in the 9th inning of that Sunday game where Dean Kramer just shoved for 7 innings, and the Orioles took the loss in that game. They had a lead. They potentially should have swept Pittsburgh because they had a lead that Saturday in extra innings, and they lost the ball game. So you kind of have to, or not extra innings, they went to extra innings, but they had a lead late in that game. So the negativity is more so because some of the games they lost, they should have won. Now, I get it. Losses happen. There are times when you just go out there, like what happened on Wednesday against Yankees. Look, Corbin Burns, again, we've said a lot, didn't have his best stuff, although he did look good in that start because he's Corbin Burns. 6 innings pitched, he allowed 2 runs. And the Orioles lost 2-0. Sometimes the other team just has your number. And look, the Yankees have the second best team ERA in all of baseball at 2.96 after that series. So you got to just kind of tip your hat to a team that just dominates you in that fashion with really good starting pitching and a really good bullpen. Clay Holmes he's nasty. He is absolutely filthy. That sinker was there was a point where I watched it, I was like, how is that even fair? But it's if he's a pitcher and he can throw that pitch, it's totally fair. You're just you hate seeing it happen against your team. Sometimes the other team just has your number. I can live with a 2-0 loss where the other team just pitched really well. I can live with a loss. It sucks, but when you lose 11-3, your pitching just didn't have it that game. And sometimes you're down so big early, the offense just it's an uphill battle that it's really tough to make that battle when you're down 7-0 in the 5th, So I can live with those losses. I can't live with the losses where you should have won that game and it's clear that your closer doesn't have it after 3 batters and you let him face 2 more and take one on the chin. Those are the losses I can't live with. But overall, this season has been fantastic. And the Orioles, I think they're just now starting to play their best baseball. And that's saying that with 3 guys in their order right now in Kowser, Santander, and Mullins, who are basically automatic outs, right? And yet they're maybe playing their best baseball of the year, 21-11. And this team, I think, is off and running. June is going to be a huge test for this team with that schedule coming. Does anybody want to chime in and tell me their thoughts on take to rake? I'm giving you guys the opportunity to make a decision here for take to rake. Is it Ryan Blake, who took Ryan Mountcastle, had the 3 home runs, the 5 RBIs, a double, but he didn't walk at all, had 11 strikeouts, 276 batting average, 276 on base percentage, a 621 slugging percentage for an 897 OPS? Or is it Ryan O'Hearn, who only played 4 games, but in those 4 games, he had 5 hits, a home run, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, just 1 strikeout, hit 357 with a 438 on base percentage, a 571 slugging percentage, and a 1009 on base plus slugging. Somebody let me know. The first person that responds and lets me know who won, you can I can see either one of us winning in this one because one guy had the better overall slash line, but one guy was far more productive, but he also played 3 more games. Let me know what you think. Ryan Mountcastle, Ryan O'Hearn, who won take to rake this past week. Also, again, friendly reminder that if you're craving that classic New York deli experience, look no further than Atman's Deli at the new Atman's. Look no further than the new Atman's Deli at Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different, a bar. Atman's Harbor Point. Go to atmansdeli.com for daily specials. Randall chimes in, and he says, Ryan Mountcastle wins take to rake last week. I don't have an issue with that. the slash line was better for Ryan O'Hearn. I picked Ryan O'Hearn by mistake. Legitimately was thinking he doesn't play against left-handed pitchers. The Orioles are facing a lot of left-handed pitchers. My brain went scrambled eggs on me, and I picked him for take the rake. He had a great week, but Mountcastle hit 3 home runs. He doubled. He drove in 5. I'm okay with Ryan winning with Ryan Mountcastle. Ryan texted me. He said, if you pick first, this is who I'm taking. This is who I want, regardless. If you pick him first, I'll take this guy. His first pick is Adley. So Ryan gets to take Adley Rutschman. I'm going to take, you know what? I want to look at who the Orioles have. They have a lefty today. They have a lefty tomorrow. And then they go to D.C. And those pitchers are to be determined. So I got nothing. Facing 2 lefties. You know what? I'm going to take Ryan Mountcastle. I think that bat's legit. I think he's going to have hit the best season of his career and prove he belongs in the middle of that Orioles lineup. I'm going to take Ryan Mountcastle, and we're going to see just how things go. So the standings are now, I have 1 victory. Ryan has 1 victory. It was a hard-fought battle this past week between Ryan Mountcastle and Ryan O'Hearn, but Ryan Blake, the third Ryan of the crew, because Ryan McKenna doesn't get a seat at that table, Ryan Blake takes the victory and therefore takes Adley Rutschman for his take to rake. One more comment before we get on out of here. AJ says, I feel our roster is way better than the Spankies, and Judge is sucking and Cole is on the IL. The Spankies are only a game back, so Boone has outmanaged Hyde, sadly, so far. That's my current feelings on the status of the season. I don't really know what to do with that, because I'm not, I am not a Brandon Hyde supporter. God, I hate to say it, because I'm not one who sits here and thinks that I'm like this big-time Baltimore sports personality. I certainly don't believe that about myself. But I also know I have a fair amount of followers. A lot of people see what I post on Twitter. And I don't like Ryan O'Hearn has blocked me because I said, even though I like O'Hearn, I don't see how he sticks around with his team. And you can't trust one good season against 4 bad seasons. But he's gone out and proved me wrong this year. So even though he's blocked me, I have nothing against Ryan O'Hearn. I love what he's doing. Anthony Santander saw me say 2 years ago during the All-Star break that he has no business hitting 3rd or 4th for the Orioles, and he liked that. So I know that players have seen my statuses. I don't doubt that maybe Brandon Hyde has seen something at some point, and I certainly don't want to be on anybody's bad side within the team. I love the Orioles, but I love them to the point where I don't care who's managing the ball club. If you're doing things that don't help the Orioles win, like Hyde's bullpen management, and twice he's done it with Cole Irvin, where he brought in the reliever when he didn't need to, I have an issue with that. But I also think that Aaron Boone is a terrible manager too. I think that he lucked into a really good roster several years ago, and now his GM went out and traded for the best hitter in the world in Juan Soto. And so Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, and don't mistake the fact that Juan Soto's great season is because Aaron Judge is hitting behind him. He's a great hitter. He's arguably the best hitter on the planet. But part of that is the fact that he's got Aaron Judge hitting behind him. Aaron Judge off to a terrible start. Anthony Rizzo, if you take away that Milwaukee series, he's had a terrible season. G.J. LeMahieu, where the hell has he been? The Yankees aren't, so close to the Orioles because of Aaron Boone's managing. They're so close to the Orioles because Juan Soto is a freak and because they have a really good pitching staff. A really good pitching staff. And yet the Orioles still took 3 out of 4 of them. The Orioles are the superior team. Which reminds me, the Orioles took 3 of 4 from the Yankees. And after that victory on Thursday, I was watching MLB Network to see what they were going to say about them. And Greg Amsinger said, if I can find this, he asked, I think it was Dan Plesac, and I also think it was, what's his name? The former hitter. He played for the Carlos Pena. He asked both of them who's the best team in his division, and they both of those guys said, "Oh, I think that you have to give it to the Orioles." And Amsinger says, "I don't think so. I can't say that the Orioles have caught the Yankees yet." What are we watching? Like, Greg, what are you watching? Who won the division last year? The Baltimore Orioles. And how many games did they win? 101. And who won the season series last year? The Baltimore Orioles. Who made the playoffs? The Baltimore Orioles. Who lost the season series? The New York Yankees. Who was sitting at home in October? The New York Yankees. Who just lost the first series against the Orioles to start this year? The New York Yankees. Who's in second place behind the Baltimore Orioles? The New York Yankees. You've got Yankees players like Nestor Cortez saying how good the young talent is on the Orioles and how they're going to be so good for a really long time. And then you've got Anthony Volpe coming out. It was Gleyber Torres coming out saying, we've got to figure out a way to beat these guys. The players on the roster are saying this. And Greg Amsing, you're going to come out here and you're going to say the Orioles haven't caught the Yankees. That was probably the most wrong comment I've heard all season. Because the Yankees have to figure out how to catch the Orioles, not the Orioles catch the Yankees. Orioles are defending American League East champions. Orioles had the second best record in baseball last year with 101 victories. Orioles have the best record in the American League, tied with Cleveland right now, 21-11, and are leading the American League East. The Yankees have been looking up at the Orioles for the better part of 2 years now. End of the day, Yankees have to catch the Orioles, not the other way around, my dude. Let's stop giving the Yankees credit for what they did 15 years ago. It's 2024. And in 2024, the Baltimore Orioles are the best team in the American League East and arguably in the American League and arguably in all of baseball. So Greg Amsinger, go suck an egg, man. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Let's take off those pinstripe blinders for a second here. AJ Mukherjee wants to say, and if I'm saying Mukherjee and it's Mukherjee, I apologize. It's just my vernacular does that. Who put up 2 touchdowns at Yankee Stadium last season? The Baltimore Orioles. The Back It Up Binge podcast. I pay no attention to any predictions I hear on TV, radio. It means nothing to me as a fan of the Orioles and sport of baseball. That's cool. You know, look, the Orioles are getting a lot of respect all around baseball. I'm going to put that back up because I don't want to hide it that quickly. The Orioles have gotten a lot of respect around baseball. 2 of those 3 guys on the show said that the Orioles are the team to beat in the American League East. They said that they're better than the Yankees, and they are better than the Yankees. Greg Amsinger just, he never comes around. He's never come around on the Orioles to the point that we want him to. He's given them their flowers at times, but to say that they still haven't caught the Yankees, they caught the Yankees a year and a half ago, my dude. Like, I don't know what you've been watching, but Yankees are the stepchild to the Baltimore Orioles, or the little brother to the Baltimore Orioles at this point, despite the fact that their roster is 97 years older on average than the Orioles players. So, yeah, the predictions don't really matter. And you look at the predictions, the Pacoda predictions, the Fangraph predictions, the Orioles are going to win 84.5, 85.5 games. You're going to face third in the division. The Rays, the Blue Jays, and the Yankees are all bigger World Series favorites based on those projections than the Orioles are. Somebody's not paying attention. Somebody's not paying attention because the Orioles are legitimate. They're legitimate. AJ also said, I think Gunnar hit the scoreboard at Yankee Stadium last year. We have a way better roster. Yeah, they do have a better roster. And Gunnar may have hit the scoreboard last year. I don't remember. Gunnar hits tanks. Gunnar hits absolute tanks with him and Kjerstad in the lineup. And Colton Cowser, who also hits moonshot home runs. I mean, he had a couple in the last 2 seasons in spring training, but 475 plus. One of those guys hitting the warehouse. Now, it's really hard to hit the warehouse. I saw this thing. There's actually only 5 batted balls in all of baseball since Camden Yards opened that could have hit the warehouse. Because of the way the wind swirls because of the warehouse in the ballpark. And you also have to think about the fact that the playing field is lower than where the warehouse is. So if it's here, the warehouse sits up here. So you got to hit at 460 plus with the swirling wind just to have a shot at the warehouse. Griffey's shot to hit the warehouse in the home run derby is 465. Gunnar can do that. Gunnar has the longest home run onto Utah Street in game history, 462 feet. He did that last year. If he pulls one like that, he could do it. If Shohei comes here and plays a game here, Shohei could do it. I think that the days of nobody's ever going to hit that warehouse, I think they might be numbered. The Orioles have a lot of left-handed power coming through their system. I God, when if it does happen, how awesome is that going to be? Especially if it's an Oriole. Even if it's not an Oriole, it's going to be cool, but it's going to be that much sweeter if an Oriole does it first. It is going to be awesome. I hope it happens sooner rather than later. I would love to see it. There's a lot of factors playing against it, but somebody's going to do it. Somebody's hitting that warehouse. AJ says Mayo hits tanks also. Mayo's right-handed, but he does. And I thought the Mayo would be the last guy called up out of all those top prospects for the Orioles, just smashing at AAA. By the way, the up and down season for the Tides. They started 7-1. They lost like 10 or 11 in a row, and now they've won 7 in a row. I also don't think it's a coincidence that they have this long that they started really good with Holiday down there. Then they lost 9 in a row as soon as Holiday came up, and now that he's back down there on a 7-game winning streak. I don't think that's a coincidence. In my humble opinion, since he got back down there, they haven't lost. So Holiday is that he's clearly a difference maker. He moves out because now you don't have to bat Norby leadoff. Norby's batting second, Mayo's third, Stowers is fourth. I think that Jackson Holiday makes all the difference in the world. The Bet Up Binge podcast. I want to see Mayo called up this year. He's going to be. I think he's going to be. And he might make it up again before Holiday does. Because, look, Arias, we know who Ramon Arias is at his best. He's a 260 hitter who plays decent defense, doesn't have a lot of pop in his bat. Every now and again, I mean, you never really see him pull a home run. It's usually an opposite field one that just creeps over the wall. Last year's opening day home run at Fenway over the Green Monster notwithstanding. I think Mayo could be maybe the next position player called up to play some third base while Westberg goes over and plays second base. I would not be surprised in the least to see Mayo as the next position player called up because what he's doing, hitting 320, 350, something like that down there, 11 bombs. He homered in 4 straight games heading into last night, and he took the over last night. He deserves the call at this point. I really didn't think he was going to be coming up until late summer. I think you could see him sooner rather than later at this point, especially if Arias' bat doesn't get going. That home run he hit the other day, I don't care. That's one home run. He's hitting like 170. So I think Mayo could be called up here soon. All right. Congratulations to Ryan Blake for winning Take to Rake in a hard-fought battle. Thank you to all of our sponsors for sponsoring us. Without you, we don't have a show. Thank you to Luke Jackson for attempting to come on the show. Talking baseball with Luke is awesome. He's one of the most knowledgeable students of the game. And I just love talking baseball with him. And it was really sad that we couldn't get his connection figured out for this show because I would have loved to have him on talking baseball with us today. It's always a treat when he does. We'll get him on again here soon, hopefully. But I did have a lot of fun riding solo today. I like when shows by myself every now and again. Like I don't prefer it, but if I really get going, I get to say everything I want to say without interruption. And you know me, I like to be heard, right? So thank you so much. If you stuck with us, a lot of viewers today, more than usual. So that means a lot to me. Thank you to all of our viewers, fans, listeners, for tuning into the Bat Around. Without you, we certainly do not have a show. See if the Orioles can get another series victory tonight.